diabetes, our tea is very, very successful for that. Now, let me ask you another question. With regards to your COVID, are you having any long-haul symptoms or no?
Well, I just, it's been over 2 months since I got out of the hospital, and I just don't have any energy at all.
Well, the tea is also going to help you with that, because the tea builds the red corpuscles in the blood, which bring oxygen to the organs and cells. And the organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. So even people that, sluggish because they're on chemotherapy, they don't feel like getting up out of bed and all that type of stuff because of the side effects of chemo, in 3-4 days, they start getting up out of bed, they start going for walks, they start cleaning, they start cooking, all of that type of stuff. So it'll certainly help you with the energy level as well.
Okay. I've got a little bit of skin cancer issue. I know places on my hands, my head, my nose, and I'm thinking maybe I ought to go back to the dermatologist and get some frozen done. But do you think maybe if I do...
Yeah, either that or the Tahibo works topically as well. So besides drinking the tea, just dip your hands in Tahibo and it'll dry off in about a minute, or you can dab it off with a paper towel, because it also works topically, and that should help significantly.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood, which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com.
Psst. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you know where you are? Well, you've done it now. You're listening to KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station. So expect the unexpected.
There's never been a better time for men to be whoever they want to be, yet it's never been less clear who men really are. Guys Guy Radio, starring author Robert Manni, is on KCAA every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Whether it's relationships, sex, wellness, or spirituality, join Robert as he interviews the experts about how men and women can be at their best. Guys Guy Radio. Better men, better world.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC NBC News Radio, I'm Scott Carr. The U.S. Embassy in Ukraine is closing after a warning of possible significant air attacks by Russian forces. The U.S. Embassy in Kyiv issued the urgent warning this morning, saying it's received specific information about a potential attack. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is saying if the U.S. were to cut military funding to his country, Ukraine would lose the fight with Russia. Zelensky tells Fox News Ukraine has no choice but to keep up the fight, but on its own it won't have the capacity to survive. A powerful so-called bomb cyclone is being blamed for at least one death and heavy winds and rain in the Pacific Northwest. Officials say a woman was killed last night north of Seattle when a tree fell on a homeless encampment. The homeless man charged in Monday's deadly stabbing spree across Manhattan is now in jail without bail. Natalie Migliori is there.
Ramon Rivera is accused of killing 3 people in a deadly stabbing spree Monday, including a 36-year-old mother, a 36-year-old construction worker, and a 67-year-old man who was fishing along the East River. Law enforcement sources say Rivera admitted to the stabbings, allegedly telling police he targeted people who were alone. The 51-year-old is charged with 3 counts of murder and will remain behind bars until his next court hearing.
An order by Texas Governor Greg Abbott directing state troopers to root out espionage threats from the Chinese Communist Party has some experts scratching their heads.
And there's been a concern for a decade for these kind of operations. My question is, why now? There's been no reports, no activities of any sort of activity by the FBI or by Homeland Security.
Professor at UTSA John Taylor thinks it has more to do with politics than an actual threat. The Texas state legislature starts in January, and reports say Republicans there are planning another push for legislation that bans property ownership for all citizens from China. Scott Carr, NBC News Radio.
Located in the heart of San Bernardino, California, the Teamsters Local 1932 Training Center is designed to train workers for high-demand, good-paying jobs in various industries throughout the Inland Empire. If you want a pathway to a high-paying job and the respect that comes with a union contract, visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
A judge in New York has pressed the pause button on President-elect Donald Trump's sentencing in his hush money case. And as Kristen Marks reports for us, there may not be a resolution anytime soon.
The November 26th sentencing was indefinitely adjourned Tuesday with no explanation as Judge Juan Merchan mulls over how to handle the case now that Trump has been elected. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg had also faced a November 19th deadline to argue to the court how the case should move forward. Trump has been arguing that it should be tossed on the grounds of presidential immunity. The future of the case is unclear, but Merchan could rule that sentencing should still proceed, that the case should be paused for 4 years or be dismissed altogether.
Following Monday's stabbing spree in Manhattan that left 3 dead by a man known to have mental health issues, New York City Mayor Eric Adams says more needs to be done to help those with such issues and defended a program that involuntarily removes those with such issues from the streets.
And the thousands we removed off the streets prevented incidents like this. Is there more work to do? Yes, we need more psychiatric beds. After COVID, we closed down a lot of psychiatric beds. We need to get them back online.
Adams is urging state lawmakers to pass a bill that would clarify standards for holding a patient in the hospital who's being treated for mental illness.
We do need Albany to pass the Supportive Intervention Act.
The suspect, 51-year-old Ramon Rivera, has been arraigned on 3 counts of first-degree murder. The Country Music Awards are tonight in Nashville. Country music's biggest stars will be at Bridgestone Arena for the 58th Annual CMA Awards. Hosting again will be Luke Bryan and Peyton Manning. They'll be joined by reigning Entertainer of the Year Lainey Wilson, who has 4 nominations.
Yeah, I know a few things a man ought to know.
Morgan Wallen leads this year's field of nominations with 7. The show starts at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight and will air live on ABC. I'm Scott Carr.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. The illegal immigrant convicted of killing Georgia nursing student Laken Riley is being sentenced to life without parole. Judge Patrick Haggard announced the sentence.
With that, Mr. Ibarra, if you will please stand. Count 1, malice murder. I sentence you to life without the possibility of parole.
Jose Ibarra was found guilty on all 10 counts by the judge who handed down the verdict after Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial. The prosecution said Ibarra went hunting for women on the University of Georgia campus and encountered Riley on her morning run in February. Riley's sister read her impact statement.
Jose Antonio Ibarra has completely and utterly ruined my life, and I can only hope and pray that he receives a sentence that ruins his.
President-elect Trump is cheering the sentencing. He posted Wednesday on Truth Social, "Justice for Laken Riley." Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
Car Recycling in Fontana reminds all drivers when you take to the road, remember those 3 C's of safety. That's caution, courtesy, and above all, a little common sense. Safe and sober driving is everyone's responsibility. This message courtesy of Car Recycling at 3800 East Andy Devine in Kingman. Call Car Recycling at 928-757-9888. That's 928-757-9888. That's where Trish and the staff are wishing everyone happy and safe driving.
The caring staff at Mac Flavor Ingredients reminds everyone to please take the opportunity to give blood. By doing so, you may save the life of a friend, child, elderly person, surgery patient, or an accident victim. So give blood. It's safe, simple, and saves lives. This important reminder is a courtesy of Mac Flavor Ingredients in Riverside, where they care about the safety and welfare of our community. Be a silent hero, and if you can, give the gift of life. Give blood.
This important time-sensitive message is brought to you by this station's generous sponsor, George Litchfield Associates, who has important Medicare information for all current and future Medicare recipients about some big changes happening. Medicare Clarified. Medicare is a nonprofit consumer service organization.
It's more important than ever to review your Medicare plan for 2025 from October 15th through December 7th. To find out if you're in the right plan for you, people are calling 951-769-0005. 951-769-0005. A popular and local Medicare plan is improving. Others are raising copays and adding deductibles. Biggest changes in the Medicare drug program in 15 years.
We thank George Litchfield and Litchfield Insurance for their generous support of this radio station. Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary, Treasurer, and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
Randy Corrigan here with the Worker Power Hour. Mark, we're supposed to have some music here. We're supposed to have some really good music from the past. This is from what I understand, this is a special request from somebody. Oh yeah, there we go.
It's going to go out to Rich Smith.
All right. KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. Randy Corrigan of the Worker Power Hour, Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. Long-time organizer, first-time radio host here. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to hear everybody back or see everybody back. I got a lot of guests lined up for today. I've actually got a completely full studio. From what I understand, it's going to fill up some more throughout the day. But a real quick recap from last week from the November 20th show. From the November 13th show. Today is November 20th. We had Daniel Jack on from People Helping People. He helps workers and people and individuals help eliminate their debt, financial planning, retirement planning. He's also a member. I actually failed in the first part of the show last week to recognize the fact that he was a 1932 member, I believe, out of the TAD facility. And so it was good to have him on, talk about the work that he does, clearly as a hardworking Teamster, in addition to doing a little bit of side business there in the financial planning and insurance business. So we also were joined by Assemblywoman and California Labor Committee Chair Liz Ortega, having her on the show and talking about first her background in labor, her being a 20-year organizer, and then jumping into an assembly position and getting into assembly race and then winning that race and then just becoming an advocate for labor is incredible, and it's great to have her on the show. And she just did a really good job of not only talking about her trajectory and her history in labor, but also how as a legislator she's going to be able to help labor and help working people take the next step when it comes to bills, when it comes to advocating, when it comes to shutting down bad policy that may be passed. And so we had her on for a pretty significant part of the show last week, almost 30 minutes, and she did a really good job. So Liz, if you're listening in, I really appreciate you coming on, and thank you for all the work that you do. And then we had Lisa and Jessica back on from NUHW, who they are currently on an open-ended strike with Kaiser Hospital. And we got a chance to talk to them, and boy, what an exciting group that they are. And they just brought a lot of positive energy to the show, and I got a lot of positive feedback from people listening to them and recognizing their fight. And clearly the fact that they during the International Foundation down in San Diego, they put the picket line at a Kaiser event and actually shut the Kaiser event down at Petco Park. So really congratulations to them. It was good to have them on, and it's good to see that they're continuing to fight. And clearly, as you heard on the show last week, their fight really centers around not just patient safety and issues regarding patient care, but also they're fighting over a retirement vehicle, and nothing. It's one of the most important things for workers to prioritize and make sure that they have a good, safe retirement, good, sound retirement in the future. And so, Lisa, Jessica, you're more than welcome to come back on at any time. Again, they did a great job. I love the fact that Lisa, every time she was talking, she was pounding on the table. She was definitely a labor advocate at heart, and her energy came through the microphone as well as if you're watching on the screen. So that leads me to the next part of our show, which is our live shout-outs. We have a lot of live shout-outs to do today. So if you're listening live and you want to get a live shout-out, make sure you let us know. Text me, email. Also, don't forget to email us, and hopefully I don't blow this, radio. Who's that? That's okay. Okay, yeah. Jenny Hernandez listening in live. We also have Justin Rodriguez, 7-Up merchandiser. We have Zarek Phillips from the City of Needles steward. We have Justin Carrasco and Jeremy Lopez from ARMC Security. Sandy Cabrera from ARMC X-Ray Tech. We have Del Rosa Tad listening in. I think they're just right up the street here, up off of Del Rosa. Hopefully the whole location is listening in live. We have our Chino City members listening in, as well as Tad01 and Amy Shackelford. She's listening in live. She's from DAS, as well as Dolores Sanchez Hernandez, who is a steward with the DBH in Rialto. And then the City of Coachella, we have the City of Coachella members listening in live, as well as all the local 952 VOs at the Amazon KSBD action right now, where workers at KSBD, which is the Amazon facility at the Air Hub in San Bernardino, are organizing right now, signing authorization cards, and we have a lot of Teamsters Local 952 VOs listening in live. So thanks for coming out, and not only coming out and helping those workers out, but also volunteering from your local union. ABF drivers that came out to support KSPD, Teamsters that are organizing right now, as well as all the VOs that have been helping with KSPD. There is, and I say KSPD, that is, again, the Amazon facility in San Bernardino. Many of you may be following this live, watching it happen as it speaks over the last few days. These workers are super active and demanding that Amazon pay attention to their issues on the job. Kirk Garrison and Connie Bottini listening in live. City of Rialto, Thad and Kim are listening in live. Good to hear from you. Lauren from the city of Fontana, as well as Chino Fire. Hector Molina, a retiree from Coachella. Hey, good to hear from you, Hector. Good to hear that you're listening in. Coachella General Unit and Mid Managers are listening in live. Apparently, we got a lot of people from Coachella listening in. Hopefully, our newest Teamsters, which are Coachella Valley Water District, are listening in live as well. So normally at this part of the show, I go into Teamster jobs. We're going to shift this out. We're kind of running out of them. We've been doing them for a year, and we're going to shake it up a little bit and do something different, where we talk about labor heroes or labor individuals from the past. And the one that we're going to highlight today is somebody by the name of Walter Reuther. He was the president of the UAW from 1946 to 1970 until his death. Reuther organized a sit-down strike at a GM facility in 1937 in Flint, Michigan. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But Walter Reuther was also one of the key organizers of the March on Washington, where Dr. MLK gave his famous I Have a Dream speech. What most people don't realize is that famous march and that speech was actually a march not just for civil rights, but also for equality and justice when it comes to working conditions, too. I know that the civil rights issues overshadowed the issue of working conditions, but they really go hand in hand, and labor was really at the center of really trying to call out America in a moment when it's like it's time to recognize these struggles and creates really true fair equality. And so he also supported the farm workers movement and Cesar Chavez, and under his leadership with the UAW, he grew that union to 1.5 million members at its peak. Unfortunately, Walter Reuther was killed in a plane crash in 1970, so his life was cut way too short, and he obviously was missed solely by his union and all of the members in which he helped organize. The Pullman strike of 1894. I'll talk about that in a minute, but let me back up again to Walter Reuther. If you look at the sit-down strike from 1937 and you look at some of these actions that workers did at a time that is kind of reminiscent of what's going on now, you see a lot of workers in this country right now saying, hey, I'd like to get a fair shake. I'd like to get a piece of the action. Corporate America has really been able to, they've got high profits. They've been getting their way about things. They've cut into people's retirement plans. They've made more and more people pay for their health care. And, that's pinched the workforce. And now the workers are starting to push back. And so if you look at situations like the sit-down strike in GM in 1937 and how they shut down that facility like they did over a long period of time, it really caught everybody's attention. And it also not just caught their attention for their individual fight. What it did is it started a domino effect into other areas where other workers said, we could do this too. And many of the gains in which we have today, in today's day, were won based on these types of sacrifices by workers that did what they did in 1937 or let's say, 1925 or 1941. And we really got to appreciate that. We really got to recognize how difficult it was for them under those conditions. And they paved the way to make it a bit easier for us. And so now workers like you see, these KSPD workers and workers at Amazon and other workers across the country that are walking off the job, that are having labor disputes, or like Lisa and Jessica that are basically on strike saying, hey, we need to make us whole on our retirement plan again, as well as make sure that patient care and safety is taken care of. It's just important for us to pay attention and honor those sacrifices, honor those protests, honor that collective action, because without that, we have nothing. it's a moment in time where we just have to recognize that's where we are. And that leads us to a labor event that I think that's really, really important. It's the Pullman strike of 1894. From May to July of 1894, 250,000 factory workers walked off the job in Chicago. Those workers were forced to work 12-hour days, and wages had been cut. And during that strike, 30 people were killed by the National Guard. Yes, you heard that correctly. That is exactly what labor faced up until 1935. Technically 1934, when it became law that workers had the right to organize. They no longer were supposed to be subjected to law enforcement or the National Guard going in, beating them up, killing them, running them over, and doing the things that happened prior to 1934 and 1935. Now, that even happened after 1934 and 1935 because some police agencies and some enforcement in some states, and particularly in the South, they didn't listen to the law. They still tried to break strikes by using local law enforcement or using their state resources or the National Guard or whatever it may have been. And this is a reminder of how difficult it was and what that Pullman strike of 1894 did. From May to July of 1894, where 250,000 factory workers walked off in protest in Chicago. What that did is it set the table for Labor Day as a national holiday, and it was a direct result of the Pullman strike, which was signed into law by President Grover Cleveland in July of 1894, and marking the end of the strike. And so when you hear me over the course of the years, the course of these months, talk about every law, every rule, every regulation that has been put in place has been because of some movement of workers. Workers are the ones that created that space. Workers are the ones that demanded a change. And then the policymakers caught up to it. And eventually the policymakers actually did something to make something happen where they would memorialize or actually create the holiday itself. And so we really got to appreciate the sacrifice of those workers and how difficult it was. And think about it, 30 people were killed in 1894 because they were being forced to work 12-hour days and their wages had been cut. And so you can just imagine the working conditions prior to 1900 where they just had enough. Like at a certain point, when you've had enough, you've had enough. And so you see a lot of similarities in today, though it's not as bad. What we have to pay attention to is we don't want it to go back that far. And there are things that are regressing for the American worker and workers in America. And we need to really, really pay attention to not allowing it to slip back that far. Because clearly over the last 50 years, workers are having to pay more for their health care. They're having to pay more for their retirement vehicles, and their dollar is not stretching as far, yet corporate profits are at an all-time high. This is not balanced. Hey, you've heard me say it. I'm going to say it a bunch of times. Corporate America got what it wanted on November 5th. Don't be mad. Don't be angry. Guess what? Now it's time for the workers in America to get their fair share too. If corporate America is going to get a piece of the action, it's time that they share it, and we got to hold those elected officials who claim to support working people, got to hold them accountable and make sure that they deliver on their promises. And so that's our labor heroes and labor events section. I'm going to quickly talk through a couple of our news sections, a couple of our news stories. And then I'm going to get to my guests that are sitting here to my right and your left on the screen. I have somehow badgered two people enough to get them on the show. One is Becky Leppins, who is all the way to my right over there, and Susan Loftus, who is in the green room, and she's going to be coming in. So I guess this works if I say it enough on this show, and I ask, I'll eventually get those people to come in and sit down in the chair, and we can interview them. And so the first thing I want to cover on news, are we going to get my cool little news background? All right, thanks, Mark. Yeah, there we go. See, I like that one. It's got a nice, subtle kind of roll into it. Yeah. The U.S. Labor Board bans mandatory anti-union meetings in a ruling against Amazon. And so, as you've seen, Amazon and SpaceX and a number of these big corporations are going in and trying to have the board, the National Labor Relations Board, deemed unconstitutional. But Amazon.com has argued to make the board, their position is that the board is unconstitutional. They can't rule in this way. And so the National Labor Relations Board has actually ruled against Amazon, and they made unlawful promises and threats during mandatory meetings to discourage unionizing at the New York City warehouse. A U.S. Labor Board said on Wednesday that while banning employers from holding such meetings moving forward. So in other words, what they're saying is you can't force people, individuals that work there into these types of meetings. Those are called captive audience meetings. What they do is they bring these workers in, force them to sit there, and they give a barrage of misleading or misinformation regarding supposedly how bad us unions are. And so kudos to the National Labor Relations Board to step up and make that happen. And so the National Labor Relations Board said that the so-called captive audience meetings, which would have been legal for decades, are routine during union campaigns. They illegally interfere with the workers' rights to freely choose whether or not they want to unionize. And so I got a lot of news, and I'm going to spread it out a little bit through the next 2 hours. And I'm going to actually move to our next guest. Normally, I have a Teamster Advantage partner in now, but we're going to shift up and actually have one of our partners that have been with our training center. And so our training center, our Teamster Advantage network, and all of these platforms that we have really are connected. And I just want to give a real quick plug to our Teamster Advantage program, which has 1,000 small businesses connected to it throughout the Inland Empire. And the small businesses benefit from it. Our members benefit from it. We're in 26 chambers of commerce. We make sure that small business is not only benefiting from that connection, and tax dollars are staying connected to the local economy, but most importantly, bringing awareness that unions are good to a local economy. The more people earn, the more they're going to spend at a local business. So we encourage you to participate with those local businesses before you actually maybe jump on e-commerce or go to a big box store. Try to do everything you can to utilize a small business. Before you go to a big chain, when it comes to food or a restaurant, try to find a local mom and pop to go to and make sure that you keep those tax dollars closer to home. Those are middle class, working class families that are trying to do the best they can to survive. We want to do everything we can to help them. And with that, I have first Becky Leppins, who is our training center director, on. I finally have badgered her enough to sit down in the chair. And I also have the principal from Sierra High School here in San Bernardino, and I also have, I think it's the Linked Learning Program Specialist, Sharon Cowley, correct? Cowley. And we're really excited about this partnership and this relationship. And so, Becky, do you want to kind of start and introduce how this happened and what we're doing with the training center and the kids and getting them into good jobs? And I'll shut up for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So the training center is really began to engage with local high schools and really what we call our high school to high paying jobs initiative. And so as I started getting out into the community, I just walked up to Sierra High School. I took a map, went, going to all the different cities, schools in the city, walked in and met Mr. Marietta there, told him a little bit, had a flyer in my hand about the training program we were going to start, and it just lit on fire from there. The welcome that we received from Sierra High School to want to partner with us to expose their students to labor jobs and the training center and really just work with them has been amazing. So Sierra High School, I talk about them all the time, the programs that they do, how committed they are to the community, to their students, their openness to just really find those pathways and connect them to sustainable careers and meet the needs of their students is amazing. It's just been a blessing and an honor to be a part of what they're doing there. And I talk about you guys all the time because you're doing amazing stuff.
And you guys had a function here today, or a function over there this morning, correct?
Correct. So we had, they hosted their CTE partner advisory breakfast and career day. So we were a part of both of that. It's been exciting. Every time you're there, something new is happening, another program they're doing, another way to meet the students' needs, and not just the students, but the community needs. I got to see the Olive Branch launch, and that's the Community Resource Center, and I'll let you guys talk about that, but just amazing things going on, and just your partnership has been great for the training center. We just value it so much.
So with that, you guys want to jump in here? Don't be shy. You're a principal and a teacher. You're not afraid to
No.
not afraid to talk.
We're not shy.
I'll let Miss Cowley go first.
Oh, but actually, so I'm newer to it, and I am bringing in our CTE pathway, so career technical education, trying to get our our students to not just watch things being done, not just listen to things being told to them, but to actually have authentic hands-on learning and to prepare them for the next step. But I think to understand how we're able to do that, Hector, you should probably share a little bit about what our school does before we got the pathways, just a little bit about our wellness program and such. So,
well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Randy, for having us on the show. Yeah, well, our vision at Sierra High School, and for those of you watching, you can probably see our vision graphic on my shirt here, but it's obviously our mission is to graduate students at Sierra High School, but also to have them leave healthier than they came to us in 6 different areas. One of those being their academic health and their financial health. And initially, as part of that vision, we launched our wellness program, which that's off and running. And when you mentioned, Becky, that you showed up today, I remember that day. It was summer. You know, I was in there, and you walked in. And after meeting with you, I think you came on after, right, Mrs. Cowley?
Yes, I met her at San Andreas High
Right.
School. So, and I was like, oh, I'm going to steal that partner when I move over.
Right. Right. And this is a story that I don't know if you know, Becky, but when the district, all of our high schools have a link learning program specialist. They all have a Mrs. Cowley. And we were the only high school that we paused. We weren't ready yet. You know, I didn't want to hoard a staff member, resource, yeah. So I said, you know what, we're not quite ready. After meeting you, I was like, we're ready.
Let's go.
We have a vision. Yeah, we have a vision for this. And that's when we brought on Mrs. Cowley. And I said, here you go. Becky, meet Mrs. Cowley. Mrs. Cowley, meet Becky.
Yes, and we often to get together and our brains just explode because we're like, oh, and we can do this and we can do that and we can do that. But one of the most amazing things that I think I've seen that we've been able to bring on is some of the instructors from the Teamsters Training Center are now co-teaching one of our internship classes at our site. So we have a wellness center, we're a community school. We provide resources to the entire community. We have a thrift shop that's no cost for community members, and it's all donation-based. Food boxes are provided, diapers, and then we have recently started doing a produce distribution every 2 weeks. But the goal is, and where we're working and getting so much better at, is our students are running that and getting the customer service skills, the logistics skills, and just the self-reliance in being able to run a program and get that practice in an area where they're not getting paid. But we try to make it as much like a job as possible. So we do performance evaluations. The students are able to do after-action reviews and say what went right and what didn't. But in our internship class, the Teamsters instructors come over and they're preparing our students for office assistant positions. So our pathway is family and human services, but a lot of those entry-level jobs are coming in as an office assistant, and that's where my heart is at. So that's how I started working. I went away, I came out to Cal State San Bernardino to go to college, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to continue paying for this. And I knew how to type, and I got better at it, and I took the test, and I ended up paying $3 a quarter and worked as a secretary at Cal State San Bernardino for many years, and I was able to get my degree. So for me to know that our students can get that kind of just
the beginning, the
invaluables.
Yep.
And they can get into any job they want. So Family and Human Services will teach them how to do just about any service they need for living their lives, but they can get a job in it, or they can go to any other field that they're interested in. So Teamsters comes in, they're preparing our students, they co-teach it with our teacher, who's then giving them that hands-on learning, like, oh, now you learned how to do this. Can you organize an event? Can you make sure that all the paperwork is done so that we have the facilities booked or this and that? And so we've been working together, and our students are also getting that career guidance so that they can apply to some of the jobs at the county and that sort of thing that are Teamsters jobs.
Yeah, and they're developing the skills in the office assistant position that is going to carry them into potentially carry them into a bunch of other jobs too, right? And for those of you that don't know, we represent the county of San Bernardino, and that's the number one position that gets hired at San Bernardino County, whether it's in the sheriff's department or the hospital or behavioral health, any of the different departments within the county itself. They're always in need of office assistants. So we believe that building that pathway, and then once they get a job there, if they get a job, let's just hypothetically say with the county of San Bernardino, now you could look around and there's hundreds of other directions you could go in. Say you were in that job as a OA for 3, 4, 5 years, you get some training, get some development, and then start to find a pathway to go in a different direction and improve your education on top of just doing a different job, something that you're really going to enjoy and something you're really going to like.
Absolutely, it's such a great place to start, and then you're a current employee, and you can look at all those current employee positions that aren't available to you when you're not in.
That's correct. Yeah, and the ability to transfer and promote internally is much faster than going, getting the training externally and trying to get hired in. So what are the other jobs you guys do in your CTE programs?
Well, we are working with the Department of Rehab. They are funding some positions for our students to get some paid internships. So as he was talking, we're trying to get kids healthier in all the areas. So that includes physical health, mental health, nutrition. So some of the places that we're looking to place some of these internships are with our athletics team. We are a continuation school, so students who come to us are definitely there for a reason, right? And we don't always have athletics programs in those schools, but our site does. And so we have actually got our class approved. It counts as one of the CTE classes they need to get the certificate in addition to their diploma when they graduate. So we're looking to have some people manage the team. We're looking at people who can look at the produce distribution, manage the logistics, what should we do differently, how should we fix it, who's doing the translation for our community members at the cars. So there's so many factors there. And so we're taking the things that we're doing on site for the community and looking at how those are jobs that our students can then do.
Yeah, and giving them tools, not all, in the Inland Empire, 82% of kids don't go to college. And that's okay. The biggest mistake, I think, is educators, you probably will admit to this, that a number of generations stacked on top of each other was you're a failure if you don't go to college. That is so untrue. No, you're not a failure if you don't go to college. There's a lot of good jobs out there that are in need every single day, and we shouldn't devalue them. And unfortunately, socially, society, we devalued a lot of jobs in the 80s, the 90s, and obviously into the 2000s. And I think academics have recognized that they made a mistake in this space and that it's time to prioritize. It's okay to work in this job or that job, especially a good working class job. So, you're not a failure if you didn't get there. And so for us to be able to prioritize this and partner in this space, for us, I know we're extremely proud as an organization to have this relationship with you. What does it mean to you as educators based on what I just kind of garbled out there?
Wow. Well, let me start with one of our visions for our olive branch that Mrs. Cowley mentioned, our resource center, is ultimately that it becomes a student-run enterprise. That's our ultimate vision. We have students working there now. In fact, with a partnership we've been able to hire students to actually work it. We want to get to the point where it's their enterprise. They're running it, and this partnership certainly is going to help with that. You had mentioned the PE classes. We formed a partnership, and students, after completing the class, they're certified as refs. So again, our ultimate vision is that we become a school-wide, so to speak, pathway, so that classes that students take at Sierra will lead to either some type of
Careers.
certification, a job, career.
Yep.
And yeah, if they want to pursue college, absolutely.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. But you have something, that you could right off the gate, get.
And I think one of the mistakes that academics made over that time period that clearly has been acknowledged now is by overemphasizing college, individuals just entering the workforce didn't fall into spaces that they enjoyed versus maybe when we were kids, we had wood shop and metal shop and all these different kind of selections in high school and junior high where we figured out what we kind of liked to do.
Right.
And as those kind of disappeared, then you throw at 18 years old, you throw a kid right into the workforce, and what do they like to do? So it's good to see everything kind of shifting back in that direction again and being able to connect to those just entering the workforce, not just because if they want to go to college and get a higher education, great, but also get it in a space that you're going to enjoy. Don't be forced into a space you're not going to enjoy work. So I actually have been able to see now that multiple generations being unhappy at work because this boat got missed, right? The train came in and left the depot, and people weren't paying attention, and so people 20 years later go, I've always hated this job. Right? Anyway.
Well, and I will say, teachers, we tend to be people who like going to school and going to college. So we get that certain level of hubris where we think everybody should do that. But when you see a kid's eyes light up like, okay, you can go into a training program and get the skills you need for that, you don't have to keep taking whatever class it is that you hate every day,
Right.
And so, but just giving them those opportunities and showing them that there is a path to whatever it is they want. I don't care what they want to do. I just want to help them get there. So we try to really focus on those basic skills like, yeah, you got to show up. That was a big conversation today, right, Becky?
Yep. Being at work every day on time is important.
Right, yeah. And it means so much to have you as partners there because they hear it from us all the time, but it means a whole lot more from you guys. And they were absolutely adorable today when they were talking about it, but they were really listening and asking. And they were being honest, too. They were sharing, like, yeah, I can come to school on time for a week and then not at all for a week, So it's like, no, you have to be there all the time. But, getting them to be comfortable enough to talk to other people and to, like, the big thing that we had with the produce distribution was you need to yell at the next person. Like, you're not yelling at them. You're saying, hey, I need more apples for these boxes, and getting that communication.
You're being assertive.
Being assertive and that workplace assertiveness and, like, taking leadership. And it's just been absolutely fabulous to watch them rise to that occasion. And part of what's so great about it being that community-based thing is you have kids who maybe feel like they don't have anything to give back, and you give them an opportunity to serve, and their self-esteem is just going through the roof because now they're learning those skills and they're feeling good about themselves because they can give their time and their skill and their effort back.
Yeah, and that the fact that our pathway is a family and human services pathway, it was intentional. We're a wellness school, and research shows that when you give, it's actually good for your
soul.
Your soul,
Yes.
your mental and your wellness. So it serves that dual purpose. And so we invite all of you, our listeners, or people watching. We have our food distributions every 2 Fridays. So this Friday we have one, and then every 2 Fridays after, at our Olive Branch, which is behind Sierra High School on Olive Street. But it's kids working right next to volunteers, teachers, and they're serving about 300 community members or more. It's fascinating to watch.
What do you got to add to this, Becky?
It's just
I
amazing.
told you I'd get you on the show.
I know, I'm here. But it is amazing to watch. And when Sharon and Hector talk about being a partner, it's not in theory. They genuinely have welcomed us into the school. When they ask about things and resources, they take it to heart, and they are backing that into what they're teaching the kids. When we're able as a training center to talk to employers to see what their needs are or where their employees are falling short, what they see, we can communicate that to the schools, and the schools are receiving it and trying to reiterate that and build that into their curriculum and program. And it's just amazing. it's genuinely just a great program to be a part of.
Well, I heard something new today that Becky showed up and explained what we're trying to do, and that sparked the program to get rolling at the school, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's a good little story. It
I
makes
didn't know
us feel
that.
good. Yeah.
Yes, we've never talked about that, but yeah.
No, yes.
After our encounter, that's when I was like, okay, we're ready to take on this position. And then when Mrs. Kelly came on, we said, hey, why don't we start here?
Yeah, and to be able to pilot the program at Sierra High School with the office assistant class and to have our instructors there teaching has been amazing. And you guys have sat in on us as we're building out the Bridge program to see what we need to do to continue to meet the needs of the student and just really prepare them and set them up for success long term. It's been
Well,
neat.
yeah, and I'll have to say thank you for my job, Becky. But yeah, and I mean, it has opened up more than just that, because now we have our career teacher, because that position wasn't filled either, and so now
See, we're just creating jobs, everybody.
our students and our community are going to benefit from that, because everything that we do, we don't want it to be just for the students while they're there, because they graduate and they panic and they don't have somebody to help them anymore. They've had 13 years of someone telling them how and helping, and we've got to release them, but we can't just drop them off the end of the branch either, you know. So it's been really great, because we intend for our career center to be a community career center. We had some alumni come back and help with today, and it's just been a fabulous experience to watch these kids.
Yeah, and it's been a learning experience for us too. Obviously, building a training center from scratch and trying to build the partnerships and the relationships and try to figure out how to put it all together and figure out how to pay for it on top of it, you know, because obviously it doesn't exist unless people are getting paid to do the work. So we really appreciate the partnership and the relationship. It's helping us as much as it's helping the kids and as much as it's helping everybody else and these young adults. And, you know, we first and foremost, we really want to thank you for what you do for those young adults.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of challenges sometimes for those individuals, and to see that there are people in that space that are proactively trying to help them move to the next level. I being one myself at a certain time in my life, being a bonehead, not that they're boneheads there now, but I know I was, is we just needed some guidance, and we needed to know that was a path. Now, for me, it was the Teamsters Union. It was somebody who was able to point me in the right direction and say, you know, it's a good job. There's something positive there. I could I could do this. I could do that. I could make a little. I could survive, and that means a lot to that age group. So thank you so much for what you do for them. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you. They are the heartbeat of what happens there, and their compassion and genuineness to the students is evident every day you walk on campus. Every day you see it. You hear it in the students when you can talk one-on-one with them. They stay, you know, they're there and they show up because they have that relationship with you guys. So,
and they're never going to forget you. I can tell
Never.
you this. I still remember those teachers that realized I wasn't as bad as maybe some others thought I was.
Oh, yeah.
And the ones that took the time to do something decent, like, a matter of fact, I had one here recently that saw our billboard and saw my face on the billboard and was like, I can't believe you got a radio show now, right? Like, this is cool. Like, you know, because you saw me at a vulnerable time in my life, right? So I know that they're gonna remember you down the road, and some of them may not tell you that today, but they appreciate you. So we're telling you today. How's that?
Well, and we appreciate you guys, and you know that.
See, it's an appreciation fest.
Yes. But today it was promised to some students that at the event that they would get to come and intern here, because we do some of our media. We're trying to get our podcasts going and such, so they did interview, and they're excited because they're now thinking they're coming here and they're going to run the place. No, I'm just kidding.
Good.
Right.
We want them to.
Yes.
Make the radio station expand, have more help. Yeah, absolutely. So anything you guys want to close on real quick before we wrap up this portion, and we're going to go to a quick break?
Yes, I'll just, I know I've said it before at other places, but none of this could happen without partnerships. So thank you, Becky. Thank you, Teamsters. We have very many partners at Sierra High School. We're blessed, and that's why we have the programs we have. So thank you very much.
Becky?
Thank you. No, just excited to continue on. Any idea we throw out there, they're like, let's do it. So I just love the ability to think outside the box and really grow it. And you guys are great partners. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have great admin. They're always willing to, let's try it and see,
Yeah,
and we're small enough we get to do that. So.
That's right.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate the partnership. This is Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, live from San Bernardino, Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. And a real quick shout out for someone listening live, that would be Warren Pennington from our new Desert Water Agency organized group out there. Make sure the rest of those workers in that water agency are listening, Warren. Thanks for listening in and thanks for texting. Let's take a quick break. Here we are back with the Worker Power Hour and Randy Corrigan, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, live from San Bernardino. This is the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host. I'm going to do a little bit of quick news. Like I said, I'm going to start breaking up the news throughout each of the segments. So if Mark can tee up my little news background. There we are. Thank you very much. I got a special guest that I've been browbeating on the radio for months on end, Susan Loftus. I'm excited to have her on here. I feel like I have succeeded at getting her in the studio and really appreciate it. But with that, I'd like to report that The Guardian has an article out talking about how the Harris campaign failed to connect with the working class, and the U.S. Union Federation says Liz Schuler, who is the president of the AFL-CIO, which is the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, said that the Democrats' bid for the White House did not resonate with working class people who remain very much economically insecure. I think that that's pretty obvious with the outcome of the election, and I think that it's also a reminder to the Democrats to not take. It's multiple reminders. Like, I know everybody gets into the political fray, getting up to an election, and it all becomes about the D's and the R's. And quite frankly, I think it's time that either a party adopted labor completely, number one, or we just have our own darn party. Because quite frankly, labor, it's kind of like I'm for this issue, but then labor is a second part of it. Or I'm in front of this issue, and maybe labor is a secondary part of someone's argument. It should be the primary part, because labor issues, worker issues impact 85% of the population, period. You're impacted at work every single day by these things. And I think that, for however reason, candidates sometimes are not able to connect to the working class. It's because they, in my opinion, they haven't adopted enough of the policies that really, really support labor. And sometimes they'll make a choice to go a different direction as a result of that, and that's their choice. So we live in a country that you have that ability to do that. And so it's our opportunity in this next few years to hold this next administration accountable and make sure that they do support working people, like they say, and make sure that we mobilize the population in that space. And if they're going to do things that are going to negatively affect workers, it's important for us to make sure we put them on notice with that. And so else in the news, there is Samsung Electronics and their labor union reached a preliminary deal on wage talks. And the union demanded a 5.6 basic pay raise for all members and guaranteed day off at the union's on the union's founding day, and compensation for economic losses due to the strike, while the company offered a 5.1% increase in wages. The tech giant and the National Samsung Electronics Union, which represents 31,000 workers, or about 24% of the company's workforce, have held multiple rounds of talks since January over the wage increase rate, vacation systems, and bonuses without avail. And so they keep pounding at it, and hopefully they're going to get to resolve that completely here pretty soon. In Teamsters 1932 news, as I said earlier, KSBD workers have launched their union card drive on Monday. This has exploded all over Facebook, social media, TikTok. It is great to see how exciting everybody is. I was on a Zoom call Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. our time, and had all these people from all over the country saying, "Oh, it's great." And I'm like, "What are you guys looking at?" They're talking about what was going on in San Bernardino. And so all of you Amazon workers in San Bernardino that are listening in, you are a hit all over the country. And I was like, well, don't congratulate us yet. The workers aren't quite there, but it's good to see that there is so much support out there. And we really, really appreciate your showing your support across the system. Well, I'm going to move to our next guest, which is Susan Loftus. And my apologies for not remembering your new position and title, because you're no longer a dispatcher, right, Susan?
So I still do it part-time. However, I am a crime analyst now, so I call it my professional stalking position, because my job is to make sure I know what's going on in the city that I cover. But I do part-time with dispatching still.
Okay, so you're a crime analyst.
Yes.
All right. So tell us about that. First of all, introduce yourself, and thank you for being on the bargaining committee. You were so helpful, even though you did argue a few times, which is okay. I'm all good with that. Spirited debates happen in those moments when we're bargaining with the employer. You were very helpful in us bargaining that contract for more than 11,000 of our members. Thank you for that, and thank you for participating in that. I know it's tough, but tell us about your experience with that, as well as all these cool, crazy jobs you've done.
So bargaining was definitely an eye-opener, because nobody really understands the backside of what happens when you go through negotiations. You just assume, hey, we want this, give it to us, and then that's a done deal.
With
They don't-
magic wand, right?
Yeah, they don't understand that, especially with the large unit that we have. A lot of people I work for the sheriff's department, so a lot of people compare it to smaller agencies. Well, those agencies only have 100 people where we have 11,000. So trying to bargain for what's best for everybody has to really be a priority because we're not an individual person at that point. We're a big team.
And it's a funding resources too, come
Right.
from different areas, yeah.
And we can go and get a lot of money. Everybody would love a huge raise, but I want to make sure I have security in a job. I want to make sure when I retire, I have security. And with my medical, I want to know I'm not spending an arm and a leg on medical. So that was kind of our priority, was ensuring that our medical and our retirement was kind of taken care of. So those that have been working for a lot of years as professional staff or office assistants are able to retire when they want to versus waiting until they were forced to because they couldn't afford the medical or they couldn't afford to go out and do things with their family like they were used to. So that was the biggest thing for us during negotiations.
How excited were you to help put together the retiree medical portion, to finally put the seal on it?
After watching some of the sworn positions and their fight with the medical trust, I was glad to see ours take place and understand that workplace was really going through, that our fight was there. I know a lot of people were really
And we busted the dam open for them.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people were concerned about the money that we were putting into the trust, but once I started calculating things, the amount of money we're putting into the trust, we're getting it 10 times back once we start to use it. And then now, especially since post-retirement stuff is coming through, and if you're post-65, you're going to start getting some of those abilities now too. So some of those people that were like, well, it doesn't affect me because I'm going to be over the age of 65. Well, now you're going to start to see some of those fundings as well. So I think that's going to be an eye-opener for people to see that the good stuff that's coming through the trust fund for us.
So you mentioned a couple things, and you mentioned how important medical was and how important retirement was. And when we polled the members, we saw that over 80% had prioritized those two issues, in addition to prioritizing medical retirement.
Yeah, right.
Because, yes, medical is one issue, retirement is another, but medical retirement is a whole nother issue. And somehow we were able to kind of build all this out, right? And now we have members that are retirees that are getting that subsidy. And also, as you pointed out, starting January 1st, the post-65 is going to turn on because the commitment was there. Everybody recognized, everybody participated in the process. And years to come, everybody's going to benefit from that process itself. And for you to actually be there while it was all happening has got to be an incredible feeling for
It was, and I told Sherry recently, I went to a conference and I got a on-the-spot job offer while I was there talking to somebody from a big insurance company. And, everybody loves to hear stuff. They like to throw out good deals to you, and the offer was nice, but I said, okay, well, what's your medical like? What's your retirement like? And then I brought up our medical trust for retiring, and he goes, well, we don't have that. And I said, well, that's a big portion because I need to make sure I'm secure even after I retire, that I still have that coverage. So he was like, well, come back to me when you retire so then we can start talking about things on the other side. So, I think people, when they look at a package, they need to start making sure they understand the full package, not just the pay you're getting right here and then, but the overall package totality, because sometimes that total package is a lot more worth it than just the pay you're getting at the moment.
Oh, most of the time it is, if there is a good medical component, a good retirement component that has a defined benefit in addition to a medical retirement component.
Yes.
Having all of those in addition to a 401k or a 401 401(3) or 401, all the different 401s when it comes to the savings vehicle. Do you know that less than 5% of the population is in that bucket now?
Oh, I believe it. It's hard to see. Like my mom debated on retiring because, well, if I go a couple more years, I'll get more money. And my dad kind of had explained to her, like, if you look at this and we going through a budget to see what you're making now when you retire, is staying an extra 4 years really worth that fight? So, it's one of those things that at all ages we're going to do it. And I understand younger generations were worried about that here and now money. But now that I have kids, I'm like, well, I can't worry about the here and now because if I retire, I need to be able to still help my kids. So I think that's the biggest thing, is getting the new generations to see that it's not about the here and now money. It's part of what's happening after.
Right. So I have a break at the top of the hour. I think I'm about 2 minutes away from it, right? that's mandatory. All the other breaks I could move around, but that one we can't move around, and we're going to keep you on. We're not going to cut you off because I really want to dig in and talk about how difficult your job is and how it's important for the public to really appreciate the difficulties of that job, because you are there when there's an emergency. You are there unequivocally. You're in a position that making sure that when the community is in need, something is delivered. And, in today's day, we kind of take this for granted, right? The infrastructure's been there for long enough now that it's just always there. And I'd really like you to talk about how important that job is to you and how important it is for you to help make sure that the community is moving in the right direction. How much time do I got left? I got 1 minute. And so with that, we want to thank you for your service. And this is Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, live from San Bernardino. It's the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host. Mark is going to take you with some cool music until the break.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. The illegal immigrant convicted of killing Georgia nursing student Laken Riley is being sentenced to life without parole. Jose Ibarra was found guilty on all 10 counts by the judge who handed down the verdict after Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial. The prosecution said Ibarra went hunting for women on the University of Georgia campus and encountered Riley on her morning run in February. The Speaker of the House says transgender women, like incoming Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride, will not be allowed to use women's restrooms. A statement from Louisiana Republican Mike Johnson says all single-sex facilities in the Capitol and House office buildings, such as restrooms, changing rooms, and locker rooms, are reserved for individuals of that biological sex. Johnson noted that each representative's office has its own private bathroom and that the U.S. Capitol also has unisex restrooms. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
Our sponsor, Applied Earthworks, serves the Inland Valley in Southern California for over 24 years, specializing in cultural resource management, an expert in archaeology, paleontology, architectural history, and historic preservation, making it possible to build for the future without sacrificing our cultural heritage. Learn more and see employment opportunities at AppliedEarthworks.com. Progress and preservation. Applied Earthworks supports our veterans.
You've eaten lots of great food and not so great food at restaurants. Cowboy Burgers in Fontana and now on Arlington and Riverside will fast become one of your favorites with their delicious, mouth-watering burgers and breakfast burritos. Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue also serves fantastic smoked barbecue baby back ribs, tri-tip, chicken, pulled pork sandwiches, as well as lunch and dinner plates. Everything is made from scratch, including their delicious side dishes like coleslaw, potato salad, barbecue beans, and much, much more. Check out their rich, decadent chocolate brownies.
Hi, I'm food critic Alan Borgen, and you can dine in, take food out, or have them cater your next special event. I highly recommend Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue at their new location at 5573 Arlington Avenue in Riverside. Just look them up on the internet. That's Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue. Happy eating!
And perfect for the holidays, Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue is also available for catering. That's Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue in Fontana and now in Riverside on Arlington.
What would you do if you had a broken bone? You'd go to the doctor and use your insurance, right? Well, what would you do if you have a serious problem with drugs and alcohol? Most people do nothing until it's way too late. Your insurance can help you get clean and sober with the assistance of a place like the Detox and Treatment Helpline. Many times, addiction treatment is fully covered. So why not use your insurance to treat your addiction problem just like you would if you had a broken bone? And with the Family Medical Leave Act, you're allowed to take time off by law, and your employer doesn't need to know the reason. So there are two good reasons. You've got insurance you can use for your addiction problem, and with the Family Medical Leave Act, it's completely confidential. Call now, 800-398-7414. That's 800-398-7414.
Are you looking for a good union job? The Inland Empire's 14,000 member strong Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary Treasurer and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
See, these songs that come in with this slow sort of kickoff, I don't know how it works on the other side. I'm just curious. Yeah. We'll have to check it out.
We're going to have to work on our production.
Yeah. Okay.
Queuing it up at the right time.
There we go. There we go. Randy Corrigan with the Worker Power Hour. KCAA 1050 AM 106.5 FM. Longtime organizer, first time radio host. So we get to try all this cool stuff. Like we get to, it's like a new toy with some kids, and we're trying to figure out what works best here. And just real quick, in some more Teamsters Local 1932 news, the Fontana Public Works unit voted to ratify their contract. They got pretty significant pay raises, a number of issues contractually, and most importantly, they were able to get the retiree medical component established. And so we're very happy to see that now we're rolling out into some of these cities exactly what we've done at the county. And my opinion is every city should be able to do this in the future. Let's create some retirement security for Teamster members. And I think our creative approach to it is going to be extremely successful for those future retirees. And with that, I may have failed to mention that we have a busy studio today. We also have Brother Kamek in here, and we also have Marky Poo's mother is here and been watching over him, making sure he's a good boy. And he's going to get some demerits because maybe what time he started the music, he didn't start at the right time. So I'm telling Mom, I'm telling on you real quick here. You got anything to say for yourself, Marky Poo?
You just told the whole world. What else is there I can say at this point?
Well, you got to explain yourself, right?
I'm guilty until proven innocent.
So sitting over here to my left for the first half of the show was Randy and Judy. And so we really appreciate them coming in and kind of watching over and checking it out. We're going to have Randy back on the show here pretty soon. He was probably itching over there saying, do I get to get in there? Do I get to get in there? He definitely loves to talk. So he's always welcome to be here. We just got to work him in and make sure we have enough room that we have enough time for him to explain, because he's such a wealth of knowledge, especially when it comes to when he starts doing some storytelling. Matter of fact, we're trying to figure out a cool segment, storytelling segment, and then let him just kind of lead it. Yeah, the problem is when he gets into storytelling, you got to figure out how to keep it clean. So we're going to figure it out. We're going to have some fun with it, and so hopefully Brother Kamek will be on here pretty soon. And so here we are with Susan Loftus. I browbeat you into over and over and over again listening into the show, and you finally came in. So what what convinced you?
You know, one of it's trying to figure out my scheduling is part of it. Obviously, as a single mom working full time with 3 kids, it's a lot of different things. And with special need kids, you know, you have a lot of appointments you have to manage. But eventually, you're going to get me if you hound me enough, because eventually I'm like, well, you know, they've helped me out, so it's the least I can do. It's like, you know, I'll use a quote that Walter said, since you brought him up today. I looked him up while I was sitting back there to see what was going on. But he said a quote of, there's no greater calling than to serve your fellow man, and there's no greater satisfaction than to have done it well. And as a foster parent and working in law enforcement, that's something that I think should hold dear to most people's hearts is we're here to public serve. And our job is to give back to the community one way or another. And you guys helped me when I needed things to get handled. And, you know, you guys do a lot of work behind the scenes that I don't think people are appreciative of. And so this is the least I can do at that point.
Well, let's talk about being a foster parent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. I think that foster parents for me are near and dear to me. I really appreciate the fact that you do that because there's a lot of children out there that are facing challenges that it was not their problem, right?
Right.
It wasn't their issue. It became theirs. It wasn't, they didn't create the challenge. And fortunately, there are people like yourself that are there to capture and be there and help. And so thank you, because it means a lot. And those kids are always going to appreciate what you've done for them in that space. So thank you for being a foster. That is a true service to your community.
You know, and I think some of the social workers, you know, like every classification, you're going to have bad ones, you're going to have good ones. And I don't think the social workers get enough credit for some of the things they do. There's a lot of work, there's heavy caseloads, you know, there's a lot of things that go on behind scenes with social workers as well that they're not getting it. And, you know, we may not always agree on everything that goes on, but as long as the process is being followed, that's the biggest thing. Follow the process, follow the rules, follow the policies, follow the laws. And ensure these kids are safe. And I think that's one thing that, you know, some of these social workers really try their best to do. And sometimes the overwhelmingness that they have on them, there's a lot of burden that they carry. And, you know, that's one of the things I think the social workers need to hear, that their job is impactful as well.
And if you can think of any in particular you'd like to drag onto the show, feel free. Let's line it up, especially if I get the two of you on the show together and talk about this. Like, I think that the general public is just not aware of this because there's no format, there's no platform, there's no space to have this conversation.
Right.
Which is why we're doing this, is we want more people to hear how important this is. And so try to find that social worker to be willing. Maybe you got to browbeat them too and give me their name and I'll do it on the show until they come on. Obviously we're kidding with this, but it means a lot to the public to be able to get that connected to what's going on, because the more people hear about what you do, the less likely people are to just with the swipe of a pen or a vote get rid of some things.
Right. And, you know, it's the same thing like working in law enforcement. It's similar things. You know, we're both public servants, and you know, you have bad apples in every job classification. You go to a restaurant, you're going to have a bad waiter. Sometimes it comes through, and sometimes I think the outpour of the bad outweighs the good. And I try to make the connection. I don't discredit anything that they're feeling towards us because that's their experience that they had. But my job is to make it where they understand that there's other people that are out there that are trying to do good. And it's my job to show them that there are good doers on this side of it too, not just somebody that had a mishap with them.
Most of them are good.
Correct.
And unfortunately, with the social pressures of today, with the phone, the connectivity, the internet, instant information, overload of information, we're kind of being programmed to think that there's more bad than there is good, and it's not true.
Right.
There's actually, it's more good out there than there is bad by far. It's just we're being pushed into this space to be, you know, afraid of our own shadow sometimes.
Right. And, you know, and that's like in my position, you know, as dispatchers, you know, there's a lot of things that people see on TV that, well, you should know all of this. Well, yes, we do have good technology. We do have better ideas of where you're located, but we're asking questions for a particular reason because, one, it's a safety factor for those responding, and two, it's a safety factor for you. We're asking how many people are in a home, not because we're trying to be nosy, but because if something goes wrong, how many people are we trying to find? just like location. Even if you don't know your general location, just give us a cross street. Some people will be like, oh, I'm out in the desert and I see two towers to my west. That's still enough information to us to start to research to try to find you. You know, people go, well, why are you asking so many questions? Just get here. Well, you have to understand as a dispatcher, we're taking in the information to give that information to those people going en route. Us asking the questions is never going to delay your services. It's just us making sure that when they respond, they know how to respond. Because if you're stabbed or shot, it's going to change our protocol. It's going to change how we respond, how we get medical to you. And that's a big factor. And even if you can't talk on the phone the whole time, leaving that phone open, we can hear a lot of information going on. So I think there's just a misconnect with communication as to what's reality and what's a TV series. Just like our crime analysts. You know, our crime analysts are behind the scenes. They're very rarely talked about. They do a lot of amazing work behind the scenes to help try to locate these predators, to help these victims get some legal justice. Now, obviously, what happens in the court, we don't have any capability of that. But our job is to help find those and research to see what we can do to get those people that are responsible for these crimes at least into custody.
So you've been in the crime analyst position for a little less than a year, right?
Just a little over a year
Just
now.
a little over a year.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. That's obviously a shift.
It is definitely a shift change. The pace is still high pace for me. It's still, you know, on the go for me. So that's one thing I do like. The emotional stress isn't as high as it is with dispatching, obviously, because we're not hearing all that dramatic stuff coming in through the phone.
Well, and the dispatch situation is like, it's there now, that moment.
Right.
You can't make a mistake in that moment. You just can't.
Right. And our crime analyst unit, you know, has amazing workers. We cover all sorts of different jurisdictions. You know, we're paying attention to those calls that are coming in the immediate need. But we're also helping to research some of those crimes. Sometimes we get a case to try to work to try to find a suspect, and I have a picture of an old beat-up truck, and my job is to try to help figure out who's driving that truck to that crime. You know, we also do pay attention to social media because social media is a big thing. You know, we want to understand.
Isn't it crazy how stupid people are with social media?
It is, but, you know, it also gives us a lot of information.
Yeah, it's a big tool for you.
It gives us a lot of information because sometimes people are afraid to contact us, but they're not afraid to put something on social media of their concerns. So we do look at that to see their concerns. We do pay attention to what's being posted because if there's something going on in a particular part of the city that we're not aware of because nobody's letting us know, sometimes social media will be like, hey, maybe we need to start focusing over here because they're having mail theft more over here, or over here they're breaking into cars more. So, you know, we do pay attention and we do care what the public thinks because at the end of the day, we're here to help them. But like I said, our crime analyst unit doesn't get enough credit for what they do. You know,
let's get them on here. Let's get the whole unit on here and let's talk about all the cool stuff.
Yeah, you know, like during the fires, you know, we're responsible for some of the operations centers of helping and assisting to make sure the logistics and the coordinations of things and proper documentation's happening.
See, Sherry, one of our business agents in the recording secretary local, is in here. See why I wanted her on the show? Isn't she been spot on? She's just been boom, 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 boom. I knew it was going to go like this. Sorry to cut you off. You could just take over the show.
You know, well, my thing is
And you were nervous. What are you nervous for?
You know, I think the biggest thing is I try to make sure that our job is done well. And like I said, I care
can tell
about,
by the way you're explaining it right now.
You know, in each different job I've had, I've worked in the jails, I've worked dispatch, now I'm in the crime analyst, and it's taught me different things, and each journey is going to give you a different path. And, you know, some jobs may not be the right time for you, may not be the right place for you at that time. Doesn't mean you failed at it, doesn't mean it's the wrong thing for you. It just means that's not part of your life at this time. And so when I jumped from dispatch to crime analyst, I was really nervous to make that move because I was comfortable where I was. However, this was something that I was really looking forward to, was really working towards, went to school for, did all this stuff. And I'm like, if I don't ever take the chance, I'm holding out on myself. So I think that's another thing is, you know, having that, knowing it's okay that if this position doesn't work for you, then you're looking on that journey to find your right one. And, you know, in dispatch world, you know, sometimes the emotions get the best of us, and it's a really fast pace to work, and sometimes it's brutal. It's just, you know, those calls come in one after another. There is not a downtime for that stuff. And I was always one of those people, well, I'm going to make it enjoyable for everybody while I'm there because it's already stressful enough. Let's not make it where our environment's bad. And so that was one of the key factors up at the Desert Dispatch, was keeping that workplace morale up. and trying to find methods to do that, because like I said, it's not an easy place to go. And, you know, things changed with that, because I was one to, whether you liked it or not, we were going to be laughing. We were going to find a time to do it. So that's my position is you have to make that workplace a place that you want to work. And I get that sometimes upper command staff, you feel like they're responsible for it, but we're also in it. So we are part of it as well. And I think sometimes as employees, we forget that it's not just the managers or the upper command staff that's part of it. It's also our job to make sure that it's safe, it's fun, and it's a place that we want to work.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here listening. You're killing it, Susan.
You know, and each place, you know, every position I've worked.
It's great that you have that attitude going into work. Like, I'm sure your coworkers, Sherry could probably speak to it. I'm sure the coworkers absolutely appreciate it, and you know, bringing that positive energy. It's why I enjoyed having you on the bargaining committee, because even though you did bring some points of contention, in a sense of something you wanted to get across, which is fine. You made sure that environment was engaging enough, and you made it fun. As a matter of fact, I remember you bringing a boat in or something like that.
Yes.
We were getting to the end. It stuck out to me. I was like, that. No, she brought a prop in. Like, she actually brought a prop in.
That was my representation of we started this journey off in negotiations in a rowboat with one oar, and now we're driving a speedboat. It may not be the speedboat I want, but I'm in a speedboat versus a rowboat with one oar. So that was my biggest way of impacting of look at, this is where we started and this is where we're at. And people need to see a perspective of, we're not going to jump straight from being homeless to a mansion. You have to take that progress and you have to take those transitions that come with it.
Yeah. So having you in there in that space, what's the biggest thing you learned from negotiations being in bar? I know I'm shifting gears here, but one of the reasons I wanted you on the show was you have an experience in this very short period of time that I think that it'd be beneficial for listeners to hear, your perspective.
You know, it was definitely, obviously there's a lot of us in there, a lot of personalities. You're going to butt heads occasionally.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You know, we had our ups, we had our downs.
When we have 38 in the room, 42, something like that.
Somewhere around there, a lot of different personalities. And then, with it being long hours, late nights, sometimes, you're tired, the emotions get there.
Frustrated.
Everybody wants, what's best for their unit. But, one thing it taught me that, yes, I am a unit within this unit. And there's 11,000 of us. So yes, I need to pay attention to what's going on with my unit, but I also have to make sure that the office assistants are getting what they need, that the TAD people are getting what they need, that ARMC are getting what they need, that the sheriff's department is getting what they need. So they have to understand. That's the biggest thing, is understanding that we have to work as a team to get that overall factor. But it also, when you saw people talk, it wasn't a matter of what they were saying, because a lot of people had good things to say. It was how they were presenting it and how they were saying it. So you get a lot more done with how you say it to someone than versus, you're saying 100% correct things, but you're not doing it in the proper manner to get that attention from someone else.
Yeah, and obviously, the example I give for bargaining is, imagine taking your whole family with you to watch you buy a car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's a window there, and your whole family gets to chime in. No, you got to get the tow package. You got to get this. What about that? Oh, just get up and leave. Like they want to tell you all these things that you need to do in that moment, and you're trying to inch along the dealer, right, to purchase the vehicle and get something fair, which means you got to compromise some, right?
Yes.
And they've got to compromise, and so you would never buy a vehicle if you brought your whole family with you to witness the purchase of that vehicle, correct?
Correct, 100%.
Was that a good analogy of what happens during bargaining?
Oh, for sure. And I think one of the things I also learned was...
You should have done this. How come you didn't do that? Oh, just say no and walk away. Oh,
yeah, and one of the things I learned was the county. Leo is a great guy. And he really does want well for us as well. And I think
we're gonna dump that. We're gonna beat that. I'm just kidding.
But the thing is,
hit the hot button.
As much as he would like to help us, he also has somebody he has to report to. And and at the end of the day, it is a business, and they have things that they need to follow. But I think people need to see the county is not necessarily against us. We're trying to find that best middle ground for both of us to get what we need to get things functioning and working correctly and making it the happy environment that we need. And that's one of the biggest factors, that the county wasn't just an enemy, that they're also trying to do what's best, but they also have to go within their means, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of us out of jobs if we just keep taking everything from the county. So, I respect some of the stuff they did. Some of the stuff I'm like, well, that sucks. But at the same time, I understand that they're a business and they're trying to do stuff. And the next negotiation, we'll just have to go a little harder at them and figure out ways to get what
As always,
little better things that we need on the
chip
next
away.
contract. But it was definitely a great learning experience for sure.
Well, and you should be proud of the fact that years from now you can look back and you were part of a bargaining team that nailed the priorities of the group. I get that some people say, "Oh, it should have been more of this and more of that," but I can tell you that nobody lost anything.
Right.
Everything was an improvement. The argument always comes in this space of, well, it should improve more.
Right.
And the improvement of more is the debatable subject of
Correct.
where's that threshold. And that's the tough part about bargaining is where that is. Sometimes people feel like, well, I proposed $100 and I got 50. I lost $50. No, you gained 50.
Correct.
Unfortunately, sometimes we put ourselves in a situation where we feel like, well, we lost $50. No, we didn't. We gained 50. So sometimes you got to point to that type of stuff. And that's one of the things I respect about you is you did a really good job of doing that while we were bargaining. You helped with the bargaining committee at identifying, look, man, we actually improved in this space. Because in their defense, you get caught in the emotion of the moment. And you're like, no, we need to get here. We need to do this. We need to do that. So I don't know if that brings back any memories.
It does. And I think the biggest thing with that is, at the end of the day, we started with nothing and we got stuff back. And, a lot of people are like, well, I could have got $10,000. Well, yeah, but you never had it to begin with. So we didn't lose $10,000 because that was just a dangling carrot in front of us. You never really had that money. And I think that's something that workers forget.
How could they have got $10,000?
It's
I'm
like,
just kidding, right?
It's like they, and you're always going to have those people, they can win $1 million and they're like, well, why didn't I win too? So you're never going to have the capability to please everybody, but the job is to please majority of the people. And you're going to have a lot.
Or I could tell you, I can give you a pallet of gold and someone will complain, how would I do with it?
Right. Right. And it's
give me a pallet of gold. I ain't complaining one bit.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Right. It's all a matter of perspective. That's correct.
It's 1,000% a matter of perspective. And I think understanding that is key because sometimes it doesn't transition. And, when I started off working for the county, I didn't understand the union. I'll be honest. I was one of those people. I'm like,
that's good. It's okay.
I pay my dues and it is what it is. I'll vote when I need to vote because it's like a jury duty. It's what I got to do. But I didn't understand stuff until you start seeing situations. They're like, well, I don't think that's appropriate. That's correct. So one, it did teach me, well, read your policies and read your MOU because that's going to give you a lot of your answers before you ever have to go far.
And then understand how to solve problems.
Correct.
Because you don't necessarily always need the business agent to solve the problem. The fact that the processes are outlined are going to solve a lot of the problems.
Correct. And I think, sometimes people don't take the time to research because one, they're not sure of how to do it. They're not sure of where to look. And my job is, okay, if people come and ask me questions, I'm like, well, did you look what the policy said? Did you look what the MOU said? And then if they did, I said, okay, well, what's your idea to help solve the problem? Because we have to be able to help solve the problem too, because we're the ones working the line. So how can we expect someone not working the line to give us all the answers? We have to kind of come up with solutions and then from there work out with the upper command staff to figure out what is the best method to get that solved. So I think that's where a lot of times people assume like, well, I gave you the problem, fix it. It's not about that. We have to work cohesively to get those